let's start with our discussion. 8 articles, little lengthy articles today, so I have kept it less. Though there are certain other articles also, we will see how best we can cover those articles. Okay. The first article is related to antiquities. What is an antiquity? Anybody? Antiquities. What is an antiquity? What is the basic broad definition of an antiquity? हाँ, आर्ट एंड कल्चर हो गया, फाउंडेशन. हाँ, time period I am asking. Not less than 100 years. For what are the two basic divisions for establishing something to be a cultural heritage of India? There are two broad guidelines, no? For any written, for any coin, the timeline is different. For for objects, sculptures, the timeline is different. Come on. What are the laws governing the antiquities in India? Why the 1972 only? Why the act came in 1972 only? Not why not before that? Why the AATA? No. That is 58. I am talking about 72. Why it only came in 72? Why not before or after? The three broad classifications: art and culture. Hello, foundation students. Mentorships. Talk. क्लास के पहले भी साइलेंस, क्लास के बाद में भी साइलेंस, एग्जाम के पहले भी साइलेंस, एग्जाम के बाद भी साइलेंस. Guru, very important. This happened in 1970. So the moment this happened, Indira Gandhi had to bring in a law. That is how the law came in 1972. Finally, it got approved in 76. Came into effect in 1976. That is the reason why, if you go to the third page, of today's article, can India bring back antiquities? Third page. It is bifurcating this into three parts. One is before independence. The second bifurcation is independence till 1976. The third bifurcation is 1976 and beyond. So, from the watershed point of view, 1976 is an important period in antiquities in India. Underline, very very important. Interview में ऐसे ही सवाल आते हैं. Try to understand. They will ask 1976 is an important milestone in the history of antiquity governance in India. Tell us the reason why. They will ask you like this. So you should be aware. Sir, 1970 India, what you call, joined the UN Convention on the Regulation of Antiquities movement across the globe. As a result of which 1972 law was enacted, finally implemented in 1976. That is how 1976 is an important time period in managing the antiquities in India. This should be your answer. See, try to understand, in UPSC interview, one question in the initial stages of the interview, if you give the answer confidently with right facts and figures, without feeling afraid about your answer, confidently if you can give, automatically the level of interview will go up. Now, if you are taking the level of interview up without any substance in you, then you have dug your own grave. That is also dimension is there. So you have to, before going inside the interview board room, you have to decide, I want 200 plus, I want 180 plus, I want 160 plus. If you want 200 plus, you have to take the interview level 2 notches above, and that can only happen when you have substance within you, when you know, when you are aware. If you feel I may not be so confident of myself, let me downplay some dimension, then keep a target of 180, 170 plus. That is how the interview will go in that pace. See, if it starts like this and if it takes a dip like this, then that will have a negative impression on the entire board. So try to understand when is the time. See, you have to control your interview. If they control your interview, they will take you to their killing zone. If you control your interview, you will take them to your killing zone which you are prepared. They are not prepared to kill you, I am telling you. You will give opportunities to them to kill you. They are not prepared to kill you, but you are prepared to kill them, provided you have that knowledge to take them to your killing zone. Easy, very simple. Tell us something about yourself. They will make this statement generally to make you comfortable. See, there is no set of pattern for conducting an interview. No, please don't go by these YouTube videos of interview demos and all. ऐसा कुछ भी नाटक नहीं होता है, ठीक है? It is same नाटक how the judiciary is shown in reality and in the film industry, ठीक है? अगर film industry में जो दिखाता है the way advocate talks to a judge, if in reality उसमें 1/10 भी अगर वैसा जज से बात करेगा, अगली बार कोर्ट में आएगा ही नहीं lawyer, ठीक है? So try to understand there is lot of difference. When you talk about yourself in the initial stages of interview for a minute, you bring in a point of discussion which would be new to them, which they may not be aware of, but you are a master of that. You are a master of that. For example, you have a hobby in knowing what all kinds of new cars are launched and their technical specification. This is your hobby, this is your interest, you are a die-hard fan into mechanics, right? Now, in the initial introduction itself, make a statement at the fag end of your introduction, sir, nowadays I am spending most of my time in researching why the Tesla car of this particular brand and make is superior to Mercedes Benz of this. इतना बोल के छोड़. Believe me, 90% of your interview you have taken off to another direction. They will forget your polity, they will forget your history, they will forget your economy, everything is gone. They will, because what you did, you intelligently diverted the interview board to some other place where you are good at. I am 100% sure the board, no matter how well educated they will be less knowledgeable than you in that particular domain, because that's your hobby, because every day in the morning you get up and do the same thing. So they will be inspired by your interest. You do not, everybody need, see, and the worst part is in choosing this hobby and interest, no, all of us commit a mistake. You look for a big thing to be your hobby. Don't do that. Don't do that. Keep it simple and go deeper into your subject. Okay? Chalo, coming back to current affairs. The antiquities law in India. Why this is in news? The first paragraph says it is in news primarily because some idiot has been caught in Tamil Nadu. He is put in jail. It so happened that in the list of items, the FIR report which the police said, in that report it has been found out that 77 items which find a mention in the FIR report of the antiquities that have been stolen by this individual, they are being displayed in the New York Museum. So this is in news. The name of the constable who apprehended him, these will not be asked by the UPSC. Now, because this is a news related to antiquities regulation in India, that's how this article is very important. Now, what it says, reported missing since independence. Now, this is aghast information. It says 486 antiquities have been missing. Now, tell me, is it possible or feasible since independence 70 years, we are saying only 486 lost? Now, what is the gap in the reporting? Please make a note, mains question. The official reporting of the missing of 486 antiquities, the official reporting of the missing of only 486 antiquities is not only flawed, but also reflects, gap in the reporting and the regulation of antiquities in India. Comment. Antiquities in India. Comment. सीधा आंसर है, right? Now it says that there are around 3,696 monuments protected and maintained by the Archaeological Survey of India, including 139 from what you call Madhya Pradesh, 95 from Rajasthan and 86 from Uttar Pradesh. Since independence, only 486 antiquities have been reported as missing from the 3,696 monuments. It means when we are regulating 3,696 monuments, out of these monuments 486 items are told to be missing by the government, right. The menace of missing antiquities illustrated by the UNESCO estimate that more than 50,000 art objects have been smuggled out of India till 1989. When your government is saying 486, who is saying more? The UNESCO is saying more. Now this is the challenge. Now just imagine, and we said that who is responsible for this? The Archaeological Survey of India. Now why the question that comes is, there is a huge gap. There is a huge gap. It means that somebody needs a kick. Who needs a kick? The Archaeological Survey of India needs a kick from the government. Why there is a gap of so much? If there is gap, what have you done in the past 70 years to bridge this gap? How many committees, how many investigations, how many probes, how many researches you have done to estimate the real missing this thing? How many of you have gone abroad to see which museum maybe an Indian cultural heritage item is being displaced? Why have you not done your homework? This should be your conclusion. In the question that I have given you, this should be your conclusion. When the Archaeological Survey of India is responsible for this, maintaining the antiquities, it is jolly well the responsibility of Archaeological Survey of India to carry out a worldwide survey of the entire artifacts belonging to India but displayed in the national museums of various countries. You have to work hard to fill this particular gap between this reporting. You cannot sit silently. So the same attention what geopolitical context get the attention of the government, these dimensions also should get attention like this. This should be the tone of your answer. Okay? आई बात समझ में? You have to be critical where you are critical. You have to be critical, but within the what you call boundaries of decency. Within the boundaries of decency. Don't use the word Oberoi sir told IASI should need a kick, should get a kick. Please don't write like that. Okay? Just to raise the interest in you. Then the RTI records. The RTI records also show that 305 antiquities have been brought back to India from abroad since 1976, including 292 since 2014. Now you got an opportunity to praise the existing government here. Ever since the NDA 1 came to power, out of 305 antiquities brought back since 1976, 292 have been brought back in the last 8 years itself. So this is a what you call pat on the back of the government that you have done a good job. Okay? Parliamentary Standing Committee, however, as the Parliamentary Standing Committee of Transport, Tourism and Control points out, these numbers may just be the tip of the iceberg. So the Parliamentary Standing Committee is also finding fault in the figures of the Archaeological Survey of India. So it needs immediate attention. Now antiquity, they are defining any coin, sculpture, painting, epigraph or other work of art or craftsmanship, any article, object or thing detached from a building or cave, any article, object or thing illustrative of science, art, crafts, literature, religion, customs, morals or politics in bygone ages, any article, object or thing of historical interest that has been in existence for not less than 100 years. So these items are getting a cultural heritage tag of India, once they are existing for more than 100 years. But for manuscripts, record or other document which is of scientific, historical, literary or aesthetic value, this duration should not be less than 75 years. Now tell me, why 100 years here, why 75 years here? Why that difference? Why that discrepancy in deciding what is antique when it comes to a monument and a document? लॉजिकल आंसर है, उसमें कोई रॉकेट साइंस नहीं है. Because the life cycle of any object on which any important document would have been written is much more lesser compared to any object. So that is the reason why the life cycle requirement is less in case of a document or a manuscript. ठीक है, important. Start thinking out of the box. Okay. International convention, we spoke about this UNESCO 1970 convention, very important. Please make a note. On the means of prohibiting and preventing the illicit import, export and transfer of ownership of cultural property, defined cultural property as the property designated by countries having importance for archaeological, prehistory, history, literature, art or science. So, because India was part of this UN Convention of 1970, we had to bring in a regulatory framework in 1972. If you come down, you will see the Antiquities and Art Treasures Act 1972. The Antiquities and Art Treasures Act 1972. And other international conventions, UN is also there and Interpol is also there. UN, the General Assembly of the UN and the UN Security Council in 2015 and 16 also raised concerns on the issue. And also Interpol in its report of 2019 said that almost 50 years after the UNESCO convention, the illicit international traffic of cultural items and related offences is sadly increasing prolifically. So that is how very important. Okay. So these are the important tidbits for your what you call facts and figures supporting documents for your answer writing. Okay. Indian laws, heritage of India. In India, very important, underline polity connection. Very important, polity connection. Even kavala Pavan? Water kavala? You need water? What do you need? You need AC or you don't need AC? You don't need AC. Where is the remote here? Remote pass karna, Rahul. Aap parle. Happy? Can I continue? Okay, good. Indian laws, heritage of India from the polity perspective, very important. About the culture heritage of India, it is mentioned in all the three lists. It is there in the union list, it is there in the state list, it is also there in the concurrent list. Now the homework for you, make a box, items which are mentioned in all the list. The items, various items which have a mention in all the list. UPSC can ask you a question, give the name of the items, which of the following items find a mention in all the list, the union, state and the concurrent list. So make a tabular format of that, that is how you can answer that question. Next, pre-independence, very important, April 1947. Why in April 1947 this act, anybody? Modern India. It says before independence an Antiquities Export Control Act had been passed in April 1947 to ensure that no antiquity could be exported without a license. Why this act could have come in April 1947 is my question. Why in April 1947? We were just about to be born, couple of months down the line we were just about to be born, 4 months down the line. So why this act was required just 4 months before the independence? Come again? Okay. Mountbatten plan to partition. Once it was out, it was clear that India is getting partitioned. So there was a fear that the antiquities from India could be exported. So can your introduction to question on antiquities start with the mention of this act? The passing of the 1947 Act showed India's seriousness in preserving and controlling the illegal export of the antiquities from India. So try to open your argument like that, right? Post independence 1958, the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 1958, very important, 1958 Act. The Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act was enacted. Finally, coming to 1972, Antiquities and Art Treasures Act 1972, AATA Act. Okay, what it states? It shall not be lawful for any person other than the central government or any authority or agency authorized by the central government in this behalf to export any antiquity or art treasure. Very, very important, central government, not even the state government. Only the central government can authorize the legal export of an antiquity to anybody. No person shall himself by or by any other person on his behalf carry on the business of selling or offering to sell any antiquity except under and in accordance with the terms and conditions of a license. And the license issuing authority is again Archaeological Survey of India. Archaeological Survey of India. Very important, last paragraph from the examination. The biggest challenge the government faces in its move to bring its heritage back into the country. There are three categories to take note of: antiquities taken out before independence, antiquities taken out after independence before 1976, and antiquities taken out after 1976. Three broad classifications. Items in the first two category, that is till 1976, requests have to be raised bilaterally or on international fora. For instance, the Maharashtra government in 2022 announced it was working to bring back the sword of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj from London. This sword was given to Edward, the Prince of Wales, by Shivaji IV in 1875 to 1876. So, several antiquities from Vagdevi MP, that is from Dhar, to Kohinoor diamond, to Amravati marbles, to the Sultanganj Buddha, to antiquities related to Rani Lakshmi Bai and Tipu Sultan are currently abroad, right? And the antiquities in the second and third category, they can be retrieved easily by raising an issue bilaterally with proof of ownership and with the help of UNESCO's convention. So, very, very important article from the mains also and from the prelims point of view also. I am expecting a mains questions for sure from this particular article in the mains paper of UPSC this year. Okay. Next important article from governance perspective, same sex marriage in India. Very big issue, going to be in future, may not be now, but in future. So, as a bureaucrat, you should be aware of what is this particular issue. The same sex marriage in India, right? Is the same sex marriage in India legal? No, it is not legal. What is the act that is trying to control the issues related to the same sex marriage? The Special Marriage Act 1954. Now, my question is, a person married in India, a girl for example we will take, but taken abroad for the what you call after marriage for cohabitation with the husband. Is their marriage governed under the Special Marriage Act 1954 of India or not? Think and answer. No need to be in a hurry. Is the marriage of NRIs controlled by India? No? Who is an NRI? फुल फॉर्म बोलोगे साला सर फोड़ दूंगा, ठीक है? नॉन रिटर्निंग इंडियन is a much better accepted definition, full form. Who's been abroad more than? Just because he is abroad for more than 180 days, will he not be governed by the Special Marriage Act? Logic, no? Logic, no? Will he be governed or not? He or she? He or she? Why so much of silence here? You all want to fly away not to get governed? Morning one marriage, evening one marriage. ऐसा कुछ इरादा है क्या? हाँ? They are all governed by the Special Marriages Act. Very, very important. Try to understand. This is one such act which has extraterritorial jurisdiction. Very important word in legal parlance. Extraterritorial jurisdictions. Extraterritorial jurisdictions. Actually, I was expecting a question on this dimension last year itself. Why? Because now the issue of NRI marriages getting divorced on a very high rate is happening. People are taking, especially the females from North India, Haryana, Punjab, Chandigarh, Delhi, Jammu, Uttarakhand. These are the places where females are being taken in large number outside, and after 6 months, 5 months, and especially after the first issue, that is the baby, lot of divorce applications are getting filed. So the government is now worried how to regulate these marital relationships in those countries of their stay. So if at all a husband is ill-treating, there is a domestic violence against this woman, can the woman file a case in India, and all these things are now being what you call researched upon. So we are trying to come with a proper legislation to control this particular menace also. Okay? Some dimensions I will try to cover in this article today. Now what is saying, very recently what the Supreme Court did with respect to same sex, recent decision was, one is the 470, that was related to adultery. Related to the same sex marriage, what is the Supreme Court's opinion? What is the Supreme Court stand on the same sex marriage? What is the government stand? The government is strongly opposing it. Modi is saying no. I did not get a girl also. Why should you get a boy or girl of your choice? So I will not agree for this. Okay? So now the government is saying no, you cannot have the same sex marriage being what you call solemnized in India. What is the stand of the government in saying no is my question. What is the government stand? What does the government think about it? Why is government saying no? See, I told you, when it comes to judiciary, try to understand. In couple of weeks before current affairs classes, I made a mention. Now judiciary is taking a path where it is moving more away from societal values to individual choices. This I made a mention. Now the judiciary is going from established societal values. It is going away from the established societal values towards individual choices. So where the law is giving more preference to the choice of an individual to exercise his his desire, right? So this is one more departure of the judiciary going away from this. But the judiciary said, very important, the judiciary says, I am not the authority to say whether it is permitted or not, because this has to come through the government through a proper legislation to tell whether same sex marriage is legal in India or not. Okay? One of you can go and get this from the second floor, otherwise you will not be able to connect. Okay? We have some copies. Wahan piche se le lo. Go and get. What it says, the union government expressed its disagreement towards same sex marriage, pointing out that it would cause complete havoc with the delicate balance of personal laws and accepted societal values. It is saying it will have havoc. Acha, I want to know the opinion of the class on this issue. How many are for and how many are against? Same sex marriage, how many are for same sex marriage? See, there is a word they have used, personal balance of personal laws. This is what one word they have used, balance of personal laws. Now, some of the religions, they say marriage is an essential prerequisite for a progeny. What they say? Marriage is an essential prerequisite for a progeny. So it means that marriage is for progeny. Yes or no? So now if there is a same sex marriage, the chances of progeny is ruled out. Progeny is having a child out of a marital relationship. In case of a same sex marriage, the chances of progeny is ruled out. It means indirectly most of the religions, at least in the Asian continent, they say that marriage within the same sex is prohibited, primarily because marriage is a prerequisite to have a progeny, and the same sex people cannot have progeny. That is how marriage amongst the same sex people is a prohibited clause. It is an interpretation, it has not been written anywhere. It is the interpretation of the legal or the religious heads who talk like this. Now my question is, what is the opinion of the class? Who are for it, who are against it? I am myself for it. How many of you are against it or for it? For it, how many? Too many are good. And how many are against it, hardcore against it? I see only one guy hardcore against it. How many say, sir, jab tak mera nahi hai, I am not interested. The guru says, I want only a girl, sir. I am not interested in boys at all. So now, it may be difficult to accept this point of view today. But after 50 years, somebody is standing here and asking this question. Against में शायद एक आध हाथ होगा या नहीं होगा. Most of the hands will go for. Why? Because try to understand. Now, I know many students of mine or many peers, next generation to me, who are into marital relationship, man and a woman, but they have decided not to have kids. They have very much decided not to have kids because they feel that we both are committed to our careers and we will do grave injustice to the child when we are not able to take care of him. So it is better not to have him in the first place. Why? Because we do not want more idiots like us to come to this planet and spoil the ecosystem balance and all. I am very much happy. हाँ बेटा बोल. हाँ. हाँ. Yeah. What is bisexual? What is a bisexual? Is my question. Who will define? LGBTQ plus है ना? LGB. B is bisexual. हाँ. What is a bisexual? Who is called a bisexual? कौन बताएगा? हाँ. A person who is attracted or comfortable to have a physical intimacy with men or a woman, vice versa, is called a bisexual. Now, is it difficult for a bisexual to have a progeny? Nahin na? So try to understand the difference. See, two gays marrying each other, can they have a child? No possibility. Two girls marrying each other, lesbians, can they have a child? Again, no possibility. Because of this reason, the dimension of progeny does not come into play here. So most of the religions say, that's the reason why, just see, government is very intelligent. When it answers, it is saying delicate balance of personal laws and accepted societal values. But when it comes to UCC, Uniform Civil Code, government is not using this logic. No? Government is saying no. Why? Because its intention to bring this. Its intention not to bring this. Simple. So that is how. Yes, ma'am. Ha.
Many are interested in adopting.
Yeah. See, that's what. You have taken progeny too seriously. Not you, in the sense, we have taken, try to understand. I am saying, see, we are, when these manuscripts and all were written, yesteryears, when the population was very less. So that is the reason why you see in some customs, there is a practice that, in fact, even your Vedic culture says, man and a woman should have physical intimacy only with the purpose of bearing a child, not for pleasure. I hope you are all aware. This is what your Vedic textbooks have also spoken about. It means the physical intimacy is acceptable in the behaviorism of a man and woman only when the intention is to have a progeny and not to have pleasure or something. So if that is applied today, can you control the population? So that is the reason why you have to understand that whenever you fall back to any legal rule or anything, you have to always see in what time context these books have been written. If you do not do the time context test, they will always feel out of place. They will always feel out of place. Now because the population is so high, this is not the factor of marriage alone today, it is companionship. That is what we talk about is companionship. If I am comfortable being a male, if I am comfortable with another male, what is stopping me from tying this marital knot? Why progeny always comes into mind when it is a marital relationship. So this is the time frame when the societal value systems are taking a back seat and individual choices are taking a front seat. So this is the basic understanding of the concept. Now come back to the article. What is same sex marriage? It is the practice of marriage between two men or between two women. Same sex marriage has been regulated through law, religion and custom in most of the countries of the world. As of 2023, marriage between same sex couples is legally performed and recognized in 34 countries, constituting some 1.35 billion people, 17% of the population, with the most recent addition being Andorra, A-N-D-O-R-R-A. Now the homework for you is, which Asian country same sex marriage is legal? Please make a list of Asian countries where the same sex marriage is legal from the prelims point of view. Okay? Now what is the petitioner arguing? Though the government is against, what is the petitioner arguing? Petitioners argued that non-recognition of same sex marriage amounted to discrimination that struck at the root of dignity and self-fulfillment of the LGBTQ plus couples. So he says that when you say right to equality, why my choice of sex is coming into play? Whether I am a male or a female, if I wish to be with a male or a female, it should be left to me. That is why he is talking about Article 14, Article 15 and Article 21 also. He says, I am from the constitutional dimension, I am allowed to exercise the right of my choice. Okay? It demanded that the Special Marriage Act 1954 should grant same sex couples the same protection it allowed intercaste and interfaith couples who want to marry. Very, very important line. So in the conclusion, when you write any answer on these kind of questions, try to dig out some information which is forward in thinking, which is supported by an act, but this is not being supported by an act. So in the same parlance, you can always quote this at a time when the Special Marriage Act 1954 is providing the requisite support to intercaste and interreligious marriage, why it is taking a step back for the same sex marriage. So try to always remember, my suggestion, it is up to you, whenever a question is asked on a choice between societal and individual values, from UPSC perspective, try to tilt more closer to the individual choices, but it should not be at the cost of certain security lapses in the country. Itna aap dhyan rakho. If you feel that it is a purely individual choice, do not tilt more towards this, try to tilt more towards the individual choices. Why I am saying is, say for example, if you give this particular context, you can always say, see, marriage was when, if my personal opinion, I may be completely wrong, I feel marriage between a girl and a boy was completely okay till such time in a family the roles were properly defined. A man is supposed to do this, a woman is supposed to do this. Now because the roles are started changing and the women are also catching faster in pace with the men when it comes to career opportunities and all, the choice what to exercise should be purely left to the individuals to decide. Here the society or the family should not put pressure on those individuals, forcing them to accept what they do not believe in. This should be your approach to your answer. Are with me or not? कितनों के ऊपर से जा रहा है? How many of you are not understanding what I am trying to say? Anyone? Pawan? Understand? It is the individual choice that should get affected. Now what is the government saying? According to the center, despite statutory recognition of the relationship of marriage between a biological man and a biological woman, marriage necessarily depends on age-old customs, rituals, practices, cultural ethos and societal values. Registration of marriage of same-sex persons would also result in violation of existing personal as well as codified law provisions. Then it says any deviation from the statutorily, religiously and socially accepted norm in human relationship can only happen through the legislature and not the Supreme Court. The government is also saying, hello, we know what is happening, we know what to do, what not to do, you please do not venture into this domain, it is our thing that we will decide what is to happen. Till such time BJP is there, this will not happen, don't worry. Okay? Yeah. The government argued that the court had only decriminalized sexual intercourse between same-sex persons in its 2018 judgment, that is judgment of homosexuality. Okay? So it said that you have only decriminalized this, but you never gave recognition to same-sex marriage. Okay? It said that the government argued that the court had only decriminalized the sexual intercourse between the same-sex persons in its 2018 judgment in Navtej Singh Johar and not legitimized this conduct. So same-sex marriage cannot be compared to a man and a woman living as a family with children born out of the union. So this is how the same-sex marriage cannot be compared between a proper couple, a man, a biological man and a woman having a children. So this is what the center is talking. Then they talk about the legality perspective. There is no explicit mention of homosexuality or homophilic in any of the statute books of India. A person cannot be prosecuted for being a homosexual or a homophilic. What is a being of homophilic? Homophilic, PHILIC. What is homophilic? Try guess. What is the difference between homosexuality or homophilic is my question. Homosexuality. One is only having likingness, the second is engaging in the act of physical act. Okay? So that is the basic difference between the two. Okay? Now, a person cannot be prosecuted for being a homosexual or homophilic. The sexual act of sodomy is also a criminal offence. The major provisions of criminalization of the same sex acts are found in 377 of the IPC of 1860. In 2018 judgment, it decriminalized homosexuality, but it did not mention or legitimize anything. The court, while decriminalizing homosexuality, had never accepted same-sex marriage as part of fundamental right to life and dignity under Article 21 of the Constitution. So please underline this word. So the same-sex marriage does not get the support of fundamental rights, Article 21, very, very important. It says the registration of marriage of same-sex persons would also result in violation of the existing personal as well as codified law provisions. So it is not possible. Next, about the Special Marriage Act of 1954. All marriages in India can be registered under the respective personal law, Hindu Marriage Act, Muslim Marriage Act, or under the Special Marriage Act 1954. Very important next line. It says the Special Marriage Act 1954 is an act of the Parliament of India with provision for civil marriage for people of India and all Indian nationals in foreign countries. Please underline, irrespective of religion or faith followed by either party. So any Indian national living in abroad in a marital relationship, he or she would be governed by the Special Marriage Act 1954. The couples have to serve a notice with the relevant documents to the marriage officer 30 days before the intended date of marriage. This is basically the provisions of the Special Marriage Act. Chalo, move to the next article, adultery in India. क्या बात है आज आर्टिकल सारे हाँ who is writing these articles here? They are testing my patience also. Adultery in India. Again abolished or yes or no? Abolished or not? Generally, otherwise generally abolished or not? Yes? What is adultery? Now you tell me that. कौन बताएगा? Who will define what is adultery? Can I use the word sexual intercourse outside the marital relationship to keep it more simple? It is called adultery. A man and a woman married, a man and a woman married, or the other party need not be married also. If the woman or the man enters or what you call engages in sexual intercourse outside the bonding of marriage, this act was termed as adultery. Now the problem here came was, the biggest challenge here is when, say for example, I am bad at drawing, if you laugh I will beat you. Man and woman in a marital relationship. In a marital relationship. Now this is one party and there is one more man. He is also a man. A man and a woman. A. One more woman here. Okay. Now two relationships. If this woman has a sexual intercourse with this man outside the boundaries of marriage, this was termed to be adultery. Yes or no? Yes or no? Now the problem was, this guy can file adultery case against her. The problem is she cannot file an adultery. That was the problem. It means this woman was being considered as a commodity or an article owned by again problem. You have to understand when these laws were written. That is the problem. Your laws are what? Codified dharma. Laws, that is what Pawan Kalyan says in that Bhimla Nayak movie. Which movie is that? Laws are nothing but codified dharma. And when these dharma books were written? Much more centuries before. So at that point of time, the responsibility to protect her was with him. So that is how he exercised all the command and control over her. But not in 2023, especially when Modi is there. You cannot apply these logics. That is the reason why Supreme Court said adultery is not a crime. You seek divorce, no worries. You seek divorce on the grounds of adultery, I will give you. But you cannot tell that adultery is a crime. Again, this is moving away from societal values to individual preferences. What the court feels or what the society at large is now feeling is that if she has gone out for seeking a sexual pleasure out of the marriage, somewhere the fault lies here. Whether it is faults of a physical incapacity, whether it is a fault of not giving adequate attention, there could be hundreds of reasons. Even if the nature, or even if I can use the word, if the character is also loose, you cannot file an adultery charge against her. But based on this you seek divorce, I will give. It is her individual choice whom she wants to engage. You want to seek divorce about it, you seek, but it is not a criminal offence as such. Am I clear? Hello? Am I clear? Good. Chal. Go ahead. Is there any need to go deep into the article? You want me to go? No, right? Shabash. Good here. God bless you all. अच्छा एक लास्ट में important judgments on adultery. Please make a note of all these 4 cases. Read through it. How the mood, how the stance of the court has changed over a period of time. Why these 4 are important is UPSC कुछ नहीं करेगा. He will give the 4 case laws in the question and he will say it belongs to which among the following. एक दे देगा same sex marriage, एक दे देगा adultery. You should be aware this, all these 4 case laws are with respect to adultery. Now, one more in this, one dimension which, anybody? I'm coming to. But when it comes to the armed forces, within the definition of armed forces, Army, Navy and Air Force, adultery is not governed by the constitutional provisions, but is governed by their respective acts, the Army Act, the Air Force Act and the Navy Act, and there it is a criminal offence. Because the Army, Air Force and Navy have decided. Why? Because when it comes to these set of people, these three category of people, some of the fundamental rights do not apply to them. Article 33 comes into picture here. To ensure good order and military discipline, certain fundamental rights are not explicitly available to the Army, Navy and Air Force personnel. They are governed by their respective acts, Army Act, Air Force Act and the Navy Act, which has decided not to decriminalize adultery. So when it comes to civilian population, adultery is no more a crime, but when it comes to the armed forces personnel, adultery continues to be a crime. So this is the basic differentiation. This you need to know. Article 33, very important. Okay? Now next article. This is related to supplementary demand for grants. Why it is in news? Okay. What is the demand of grant? What is the demand for grants? कौन बताएगा? Expert in polity. एक मिनट. 1 minute. Tell me. कौन बोल रहा था? Who was giving the answer? बोल. Financial expenditure envisaged. The process of budget, the work of budget starts in the month of July, August only. The budget is though passed in the parliament in February. The work of the budget starts in July only, where the finance ministry will circulate letters to all the departments. Tell me what is your expected budget expenditure for the next financial year, so that it has to make certain provisions of ensuring that that amount of money is being made available to you. Very important part of the entire planning of the government's finances. Okay? Now you have to understand, when the budget is put to vote, in that demand for grant, basically your budget is nothing but your demand for grant. The technical word is demand for grant. For a common man, the word is budget. For UPSC people, the word is demand for grant. This demand for grant has two components. One is charged expenditure, the second is voted expenditure. Say for example, when you put the demand for grant to vote, it means the entire budget, it has to be passed by the Lok Sabha. It has to be passed. Before passing, somebody has to put the stamp. In fact, before introducing, somebody has to put the stamp. This somebody is the President of India before introduction in the Lok Sabha. Now, when the budget is put for vote in the Lok Sabha, you have to understand the charged expenditure is never being contested only in the first place. It means the legislature does not have any right to reject the charged expenditure. Now what is this charged expenditure? This is the expenditure which the government cannot avoid, in the sense, maybe government would have taken some loan, the interest payment would be due, maybe the principal repayment would be due. This is the expenditure which is classified as charged expenditure. Any correction the legislature wants to do in the budget, reduce, cut or remove for that matter from my side, it can only do to the voted part of the expenditure and not the charged part of the expenditure. This is very famous question of UPSC in interview. What are the two components of the demand of grants? How they vary from each other? So these are the two important dimensions of a demand for grant you should be aware of. And another famous question within the sphere of this is vote of vote of account and vote of credit. These are again two questions which UPSC very repeatedly has asked in the past in prelims and interview. What happens is, in that tensed situation, no, situation is tense. 8 पढ़े लिखे लोग बैठे हैं, 8 educated people are sitting, and you studied for the first time in your life, and 8 educated people who are educated for the last 60 years, maybe close to their retirement. You are hardly 21 over the mother earth, right? And they are asking you questions, how fair it is. You start your interview, sir, as per the right to equality, this interview is what you call unconstitutional. You all are 8 highly educated people, highly experienced people. You have closed the door from outside also. This my right to life and personal liberty is also at stake. So I will invoke after going out from my interview 14, 15 and 21, you all will be in the jail. You make this statement, you will definitely pass UPSC. Interview at least. See, try to understand, in UPSC, knowledge dimension is important. I am not saying no. But wit, when you display in times of stress, they will definitely admire that. Try to understand. If you display wit at the time of stress in sitting in front of all of them, and you make everybody laugh there, not thinking you are a fool, but actually making them laugh, if you can achieve that, your score is definitely above 182, 183 plus. If your score is 182, 183 plus, don't crack a joke from nowhere. Then definitely the score will be 83 plus only. Okay? So definitely if you have achieved 182 plus in interview, you have jumped minimum 60 to 70 ranks. Minimum you have jumped 60 to 70 ranks. So try to understand the importance of interview. This 2011, I think Dabang movie had come when I went for my interview. So K.K. Paul was the what you call interview board chairman, IPS officer, later became the governor of Meghalaya. First question he asked is, why do you want to wear khaki uniform? I said, sir, it seems you have decided I will get IPS. I was in uniform because we were asked to come in uniform, the army uniform, when we went to give our interview. He said, why you want to wear a khaki uniform when you are already adorning a army uniform? I said, sir, it seems the board has decided to give me IPS only. The moment I made this statement, the person sitting next to the chairman started laughing. He said that, we've been telling you he will be a misfit in the police, your chairman is not agreeing. Just imagine the what you call the tension that came down in the entire this thing. So even at that strong time of stress, and then the chairman then suddenly asked, have you seen Dabang movie? I said, sir, I saw very much. उसका नाम क्या है? उसकी बेटी शत्रुघ्न सिन्हा, क्या नाम है उसका? हाँ, सोनाक्षी सिन्हा. I said, what did you like in that movie? I knew this guy is a police guy. मैं अपना homework करके गया था. This guy is a police guy. He is trying to test me whether I accept Salman Khan's behavior in the movie or not. This was his intention to throw that question at me. Then I said, sir, you have to understand two things. When you go to a movie, two things you have to keep in mind. One, movie is the reflection of society, what's happening in the society, that is one. Second, the director has some liberty to modify to attract the attention of the crowd. If you see in the movie, though I know what you are intending at, Salman Khan does all wrong things, but never ever in the entire movie it is seen that whatever money he is earning from corruption or gratification, he has never used it on himself. He stayed in the government quarters, he took his mother to the government, wanted to take his mother to the government quarters, and he always only used the government vehicle, he did not use the money. Then I made him reference of one particular scene in the movie. I said, if you remember, sir, he initial that what you call kidnapping, some money he keeps for himself, and he donates that money to a particular orphanage, and while donation he says that this money is not from me but on behalf of the constable who was sitting next to him. It means He did not even take credit for the money that he is giving, he immediately passed on that credit to somebody else. That was the only question the chairman asked. उसके बाद he fixed his mind, इसको क्या देना है. I met him again in Meghalaya when he became the governor. I said, sir, why did you give me IPS when I told you I don't want IPS? He said, people like you I want in the uniform. I said, sir, you know I will not join IPS. That's what statement I made. Try to understand. That's what I said. This confidence you will get only when you know what you are studying. So try to be alive to your surroundings also. Don't become bookworms. चलो come back. तुमको कहानियाँ बोलो तो बड़ा अच्छा सुनते हो बैठ के, और एक चैप्टर बोलूँ तो कोई फोन चेक कर रहा है, हाँ कोई क्या बताऊँ. चलो next, demand for grant. Article 113 of the Constitution requires that any proposal or estimate seeking withdrawal of money from the Consolidated Fund of India. Article 113, please underline, one of the most important articles which has a cross reference in economy also, polity also and economy also. 113. Withdrawal of money from the Consolidated Fund of India should be presented to the Lok Sabha in the form of a demand for grant. Any withdrawal or reimbursement from the Consolidated Fund of India can only be done by passing a bill in the Lok Sabha, that is the House of People. Every ministry prepares a demand for grants for the expenditure to be incurred in the next financial year. These demands are collectively present in the Lok Sabha as the part of the union budget. The demand for grants include both charged and voted expenditure. Charged expenditure are considered liabilities of the Government of India, such as payment of interest and all, and are not put to vote in the Lok Sabha. Very, very important. Charged expenditure are not put to vote in Lok Sabha. Put to vote in Lok Sabha. Very, very important. Okay, from prelims perspective. Next, the other category of expenditure, that is the voted expenditure, that includes the revenue and capital expenditure to be incurred on a government scheme in the next financial year. Usually there is a demand for grant for each ministry, but large ministries like finance and defense have more than one demand for grant. So another important from prelims perspective, all the ministries have one demand for grant. It is a false statement. The Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Defense, being one of the largest ministries in the entire ministries of the government, they have at times more than one demand for grant also. The presentation procedure also they have spoken to. Please go through it. It is very, very simple. But one Article 115, come to last line of that page, contains provisions related to supplementary, additional or excess grants. So Article 115 is related to supplementary, additional or excess grants. Come to the next page. About the types of grants also it is given. Additional grant, it is granted when a need has arisen during the current financial year for additional expenditure upon some new service not contemplated in the budget for that year. So in this particular case, the additional grant is given. Can anybody give an example of an additional grant? Additional grant. Can anybody give me an example? Additional grant. How? How MG Narega? Give me an example. Come again. But whether it will be additional or supplementary? It cannot be additional. What did the lines say? Try to see, read between the lines. Upon some new service not contemplated in the budget for that year. New service. Did they give any new service in Manrega? No. So it cannot be additional grant. That's why I am asking, give an example of additional grant. थोड़ा जोर से बोलना है. Gone. Disaster management. Anything else? We'll come to disaster management. थोड़ा. हाँ. Disaster management के लिए there is something else also, no? What consolidated? What president has? The contingency fund of India is also there, no, with the president. What is the capacity now? Contingency fund. It is 30,000 crores now. Earlier it was 500 crores. Now enhanced to 30,000 crores. 30,000 crores, not a small money. It is more or less a blank check, okay. 30,000 crores, the president can authorize spending. President spend matlab, he will not go with the check to market to buy something. He can authorize 30,000 rupees crores of expenditure without the permission of the Lok Sabha. This is, we call it contingency fund of India. Any other example? Additional grant? Think. COVID management. Okay. What else? Example. I need example. Financial crisis. Which crisis? We have not seen any financial crisis after 1991 as far as I know. Luckily, we did not see the 97 East Asian crisis, not affected largely. 2007-8 global financial crisis also not affected largely. हाँ. बोल निष्ठा. हाँ. हाँ. Good. When you are telling disaster management, no, I was asking for this. So, because these are the situations which cannot be envisaged. So, in these kind of situations, additional grants can be asked by the Lok Sabha immediately, and generally it is a accepted parlance that these, because they have humanitarian angle to it, so they would generally get passed. Okay. Next, excess grant. It is granted when money spent on this service during a financial year is in excess of the amount granted for that service in the budget for that year. Can anybody give me an example for this? This is excess grant. This is excess grant. This is not additional grant. Can I give you an example? Say for example, the central government pay revision. The moment pay revision happens, they would have envisaged a particular amount of money for the salaries and the pensions. The particular year the pay revision got implemented, so obviously the bill of the government will go high. So in that particular case, the excess grants can be asked for. So that is how the Lok Sabha would issue this particular excess grant. Ippudu they were say 100 employees earlier in central government and we were paying only 1000 rupees salaries to them. So 1000 salaries is how much? 1 lakh rupees. 1 lakh rupees was the salary bill of the government, Ministry of Defence, assumption. Suddenly the pay revision got revised and these 100 people, the salary was revised to 1500. So now the requirement would be 1.5 lakh. So the government has to go for 50,000 rupees excess grant to be released by the government. It can happen increase here also, it can happen as a result of increase in the number of people employed also. It can happen either ways. That is the reason why the budget work starts in July. The DOPT is there, no, Department of Personnel and Training. The moment UPSC announces the notification 1200 people, it has to add the salary and expenditure of those 1200 people in its demand for grants when it submits to the Ministry of Finance. So that is how things are balanced out. Supplementary grant, it is grant when the amount authorized by the Parliament for a particular service for that current financial year is found to be insufficient for that year. And what is this? I want somebody to explain. For example, say for example, we will take the example of this. Just imagine this situation. The Meteorological Survey of India imagined last 5 years on an average around 2 to 3 cyclones are hitting the eastern coast, Bay of Bengal. Generally the cyclones are majorly hit at the eastern coast, the Bay of Bengal, right? Unluckily, in a particular year, the number of cyclones hitting increases to 5. It means they only estimated the budget for 3 cyclones at max, but what about the number of cyclones? 5 cyclones were hit and the intensity of the cyclones also increased. it means the collateral damage also increased, it means the destruction also increased. Obviously, if that increases, the expenditure of the government will also increase. So, this kind of grants, when they are given, they are called supplementary grants. These are called supplementary grants. One more dimension you need to, I am just giving you simplest possible examples to understand the concept. This is the most easiest concept to understand using this example. It could be as tricky as it could be. If I say the inflation the government is not able to control, the Ministry of Finance also has its kitty of demand for grants. Because of being a bigger department, it will have more than one demand of grant. So, it could have understood, acha, because to control inflation, this could be the amount of expenditure involved by the government. But if the inflation is not coming under control quarter after quarter, quarter after quarter, the cost of the government will also go high. The cost of the government will also go high. So, even in those cases, the supplementary demand for grants come into play. Okay? Try to understand. Vote of credit and token grant and all. What is vote of credit? It is granted for meeting an unexpected exceptional demand upon the resource of India. It is like a blank check given to the executive by the Lok Sabha. Vote of credit, right? Then exceptional grant is granted for a special purpose and forms no part of the current service of any financial year. Actually, if you ask me personally, the assistance to Turkey can come under this. The assistance to Pakistan can come under this. The assistance to Nepal can come under this. The assistance to Sri Lanka can come under this exceptional grant also. Okay? This can come under exceptional grant as well. Yeah. Token grant, it is granted when funds to meet the proposed expenditure on a new service can be made available by reappropriation. Reappropriation is basically shifting the money from one departmental head to other departmental head. Say for example, Ministry of Railways asked for 10,000 crores and it could only spend 8,000 crores. 2,000 crores are pending. Ministry of Defence asked for 10,000 crores, but its expenditure is 12,000 crores. So, instead of releasing special grant to the Ministry of Defence, they can transfer this 2,000 balance of the railway to the Ministry of Defence. It is called reappropriation. It is called reappropriation. So, that is how they try to see, these are all procedural things. The government tries to make up the money which is absent. So, these are all procedural things. Chalo. Yes, anything. Any government nowadays is doing so many things. What to include where? The Ministry of Finance, see, it is said the work of Ministry of Finance before COVID and after COVID has drastically multiplied. Has drastically. Why do you think the, I am telling you, next year UPSC notification minimum 1300. Next to next year minimum 1400. Because the work is increasing, the population is increasing, the diversity of fields of engagement is increasing. Who will do the work? You need people to do the work, right? So, do not worry, you will all pass. Do not worry, you will all pass. Okay? Chalo. Next is Bhutan. Why is this guy in news? Bhutan is in news because graduating from LDC to a developing country. Bhutan recently became the 7th nation to graduate from the United Nations list of least developed countries. Now, what is this LDC? Come to the 3rd page, I think somewhere, definition of a developed country, last part of this article, come to that first, then we will come to the other part later. Definition, the classification. See, by the United Nations, the countries are classified into primarily how many categories? Into how many categories? 4 categories. Starting from low income economies, sorry. See, try to understand the nomenclature used by the World Bank and the United Nations is different. Nomenclature means the name used by the United Nations and the World Bank is different. United Nations classifies countries into 4 categories. The first country, it says low income economy, where the GNI per capita is less than or equal to $1085. It means the total income GDP of that country divided by population of that country. If per individual, if the earning is equal to or less than 1085, that country is deemed to be a low income country. This is the nomenclature of United Nations. What the World Bank uses is least developed countries. So it is, the name is different, but the identity is same. Name is different and the identity is same. The second is lower middle income countries. Lower middle income countries. So 1085 to 4255. If any country's GNI per capita is between 1085 to 4255, they become lower middle income countries. Then upper middle income countries, $4255 up till $13205. This is what is the, what you call, GNI per capita of upper middle income economies. And lastly, high income economies greater than $13,205 of per capita income. So this is the classification of all the entire world. There are 193 countries in the United Nations. So there all the 193 countries are divided into these four categories. Where are we? We are in the second category, LMI, lower middle income economy. We are in this category. Now recently Bangladesh got an upgrade from this to lower middle income countries. But try to understand, the bracketing is also large, especially in this category. The bracketing is very huge. See, the reason why we are struggling at the lower end of this second lower middle income country is the population being very, very high. Whatever the GDP of the country is, the population is also, the GDP you are putting on the, I said GNI is equal to GDP divided by the population, GNI per capita. Now if this is increasing and if it is stagnant, the net result is positive. But the problem is, this is increasing and this is also increasing. So if the rate of increase of the denominator is more than the numerator, obviously the end result would be negative. So that is the reason why, despite of our economic growth, our GNI per capita is not increasing, because still our population is, what you call, not under control. So you give this as the reason and agree to same sex marriage. Okay? You give this as the reason and give your agreement to the same sex of marriage. Now come to the article. Article says Bhutan has got an elevation from lower income economy to a low middle income economy. So identification criteria, all these things I have explained to you. Just the article is basically more of number of countries in LDCs and all those information, facts and figures. Just see through it, it is all self-explanatory, but try to understand which are the countries scheduled for graduation. You come to the second last page, the countries that have graduated since 1994, 6 countries have graduated from least developed countries: Botswana, Cabo Verde, Maldives, Samoa, Equatorial Guinea and Vanuatu. 2020 Vanuatu got graduated, and the Botswana achieved graduation in 1994 primarily due to its strong economic performance, and Cabo Verde graduated in 2007 following investments in tourism, fisheries and services. And countries scheduled for graduation, very important, make a note of Sao Tome and Principe 2024, Solomon Islands and Angola. These 3 countries are important from prelims perspective. Try to identify these 3 countries on the world map also. Identify these 3 countries on the world map. A question, a map based question can also be asked. Okay? Next article is about the report of SIPRI, Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. Very important report. It is said that India is world's largest arms importer for the period 2018 to 2022. Now, geopolitical implications of this India being the largest arms importer. Largest arms importer. Now the question is, what is the geopolitical implication? What is the geopolitical implication? Good or bad for India? Don't be too early to tell good or bad. What you may feel good may be bad. What you may feel bad may be. हाँ बोलो. हाँ हाँ. The India becoming the largest importer of arms in the world is a good sign or a bad sign? If you ask me, I would say it is a bad sign on two dimensions. One, inability to develop indigenously. This is one bad sign. Second is, in the first place, it is a direct reflection of a disturbed neighborhood or geopolitical situation. Now, the question is, who is responsible for this? The article is facts and figures. France se ye kharida, submarine kharida, combat aircrafts kharida. That is easy. Try to understand the context. Now, if my neighborhood is disturbed, if my geopolitical situation is disturbed, who is responsible for this? Is my question. Now, try to understand, when I am talking about geopolity here, I am primarily talking with perspective to Indo-Pacific. The entire rhetoric of Indo-Pacific is the brainchild of US. Or yes or no? Is the brainchild of US. Now, you created this problem in my neighborhood which was peaceful. Till 1990s, early 2000 also, Indo-Pacific के ऊपर कभी कोई चर्चा ही नहीं हुई. Never ever Indo-Pacific was in the realms of discussions also. Why is it that suddenly Indo-Pacific became the center of global politics? The Quad is coming up, so many AUKUS has come up, the IPEF has come up, so many things have come up. Why is it so? Are we trying to create trouble so that, see, US economy, try to understand. The US economy, what all things are important for production from the perspective of geopolitics, they have not outsourced to anybody. They have kept it closest possible to their chest, like entire aeronautical, entire space, entire defense. America does not allow anybody even to supply a nut or a bolt also. It does it all by itself. Whatever China is doing, okay, तू साबुन बना के भेज दे, तू मोबाइल बना के खुश हो जा. So all peripheral dimensions of economic activities have been outsourced to people like China, India and other countries. But when it comes to core activities which have got geopolitical significance, they have not allowed anybody to enter. This is with an intention to influence the market as per their economic will. That is the reason why America tries to control the arms industry with very strong what you call grip, because it can shape the entire world's global economy depending on its one single move. Say for example, America decides to, say the ground situation is example, America has outsourced the defense production also. For example, tomorrow America decides, okay, let us invade Afghanistan, and for example Afghanistan China का दोस्त है and China is one of the defense producers for America. Will ever China produce adequately as per the requirement of America? No. So that is the reason why Americans have very beautifully designed their economy. What is to be controlled by me, what can be controlled by others. Now, can you call this a pure market economy? Can you call this a pure market economy? No, no, because you have classified your economy into two compartments and you teach the entire world that American economy is a purely market economy driven by the market forces of demand and supply, but the reality is completely different. So try to understand the difference of approach when it comes to what you call handling the economic situation. Now, I told you the first reason for bad is this inability. Now, Why are we bad here knowing that we are bad for the last 70 years? Lack of? My question is, we know lack of R&D, lack of technical, lack of investment, lack of heads not working properly, busy in adultery, same-sex marriage and all. Why is government not vocal about it and acting on it is my question. If it becomes vocal and if it starts acting on this, what will get disturbed? Yes or no? Try to understand this game. Try to understand this game plan. Larger game plan is the people who are controlling the geopolitics of the world, they do not want certain countries to become masters in production and export of certain technologies. When I say a powerful country or superpower country, there are three dimensions: political, economic and military. And in military I told you there are two subsections, subcategories. One is the capability of your soldier to fight. The second military superpower is your technical know-how skills. How strongly you can support your soldier who is fighting on the border. What kind of weapons you can provide him. On these two dimensions, the military prowess of a country can be determined. Israel is giving proper training, everything supported by a proper equipment support also. That is how the entire Arab countries were defeated in 6 days. The 6-day war, no? Very, very famous war in the history of modern world. 6 दिन में पूरे अरब कंट्रीज को हरा दिया ये बंदा. How? Because the troops were trained, the weaponry was of the utmost important, what you call quality standards. It means if why we are not able to give knowing all these things is, if I become strong in my production, whose exports to India will get disturbed? The US exports, the Russian export, the French export, the Germany's export, the Korean export will get disturbed to India. Will they be happy or sad about it? So that is the reason why they will never allow the government to do certain things. Can you imagine a day when America will import fighter aircrafts from India? Can you imagine that day? It will never happen. Believe me, definitely not 10 generations after you also. It will not happen. Why? Because they are not accepting our mangoes. Leave aside aircraft. There is a quality control check for your Alfonso mango also. How can you expect that he will take your aircraft? If he starts, see, understand, if America buys aircraft, it means it is a potent aircraft. Yes or no? What is the message to the world? This is a good aircraft, we should also have. Suddenly what will happen? All the countries in the world will start importing or purchasing. What will happen to the revenue generation of India? It will go sky high. So try to understand why these things are wantedly underplayed is they do not want us to become the exporters of the modern weaponry system to the world. So that is the see, our air personnel, the fighter pilots are so efficient in dog fights. The aircraft, when they do fights, it is called a dog fight. Okay, in dog fights our pilots have defeated pilots who were flying machines much more superior in avionics, in armament and maneuverability with an inferior aircrafts also. Not once, not twice, every time. It means that the quality of training is also important. The quality of upkeep of your aircrafts also comes into play. So all these dimensions have to be understood along with the content in the article. Now what the SIPRI report says, India is the world's largest arms importer for the period so and so, and it talks about SIPRI. It says Russia was the largest supplier of arms to India, but its share of total Indian arms imports fell from 64% to 45%. It means even today 45% of the Indian armament is supplied by Russia. Arms and armament is supplied by Russia. While France emerged as the second largest supplier between 2018 to 22. India is the biggest arms export market for whom? Russia, France, Israel, and the second largest export market to South Korea. South Korea second largest export market India ही है. Russia का and France का और Israel का largest market is India only. So try to understand the importance for them, not for us, for them. ठीक है? Decrease reasons and all. Russia's arms export, global arms, the Pakistan's arms export. They have given certain figures. Just read through it. Don't read the percentages and all. Not important. Only try to understand we are importing from which all countries. So try to understand that. Not more than that. SIPRI का एक slide. There is one slide on SIPRI. There is one SIPRI yearbook. When it comes after that, what you call photograph. No, India's arm imports. 45 Russia, 28 I think is France, followed by 11% United States, 7% Israel, and 2% is 2.8 is Korea, around 2% is UK, and Germany is 1.4%. Just imagine, no Asian country, not even Japan. Japan is also not there. What defense equipment of the Japan is known for? What have we purchased from Japan? Defense equipment. You have purchased amphibious aircraft. You have purchased. Please make a note. Japan से भी हमने खरीदा है. SIPRI is basically 1966 found. It's a Swedish. SIPRI was founded in 1966 by the Swedish Parliament as an independent research institute. It is not an intergovernmental body. It is just a research institute. It carries out, it is funded by a combination of government grants, private donations, and project based funding. So multiple entities are sourcing for money to SIPRI, and it takes out a flagship publication yearly called as SIPRI yearbook. Very important. Okay? So this is about your SIPRI. Next, come to the next article. Inter Services Organization Bill. A new bill has been what you call recently introduced, Inter Services Organization Bill. There was an article couple of months before on Tri-Services Command. There was an article on Tri-Services Command. I think I spoke about this with my foundation batch students also. Tri-Services Command. क्या ये? What is this Tri-Services Command? What is this Tri-Services Command? हाँ. What is this Tri-Services Command? Bhavna? You are there in the class? हाँ. कौन बोलेगा? हाँ. राम. Theaterization. Tri. What is this Tri denotes? All the three services like Army, Navy, and Air Force. See, try to understand. These three organizations, wherever they are deployed, they report to their respective departmental hierarchy. The Army reports to their departmental hierarchy, the Navy reports to them, the Air Force reports to them. This is basically to ensure independence of their own functioning. Independence of their own functioning. I have served in the army for 10 years, 11 years, but my understanding, despite of the fact that I have served in the army for 11 years, my understanding of these two is very, very minimal, because the interaction is very minimal. Now, what the government feels is, instead of they working independently without interaction, let's go for Tri-Services Command, where all the three elements are under the operational control of a single entity, Now, there are pros and cons to this. There are certain advantages, there are certain disadvantages. The biggest advantage is that when you have these three people working independently of each other, whenever, say for example, the army decides, अरे यहाँ पे नॉर्थ ईस्ट में ये लोग काम ठीक से नहीं कर रहे हैं, let's take over the entire northeast, let remove the political structure, we will take over the command of entire northeast. The army decides. So the government has still has the Navy and Air Force to use this manpower against the army personnel to fight back for any probable military coup. This is the biggest advantage that the government has. But when it becomes a tri-services, the biggest advantage, I am not talking about disadvantage, when it becomes the tri-services, the biggest advantage is that whenever you are wanting to execute a particular operation, that operation success can be more or less 100%. Why? Because you will be efficiently able to use the Air Force assets, the naval assets and also the Air Force assets. The reason why we did not go for this till now is we fear that there would be a probable chances of a military takeover of a particular geographical area. North हो सकता है, north east हो सकता है, west हो सकता है, southern हो सकता है. Andaman is the only tri-services command that we have in India today. Please make a note. Andaman is the only tri-services command where the entire operational control is under one single entity when there are naval assets, there are Air Force assets also. So now the government has brought in a bill. Simple. The bill aims to empower the central government to constitute inter-services organizations formed of personnel from multiple disciplinaries, services or branches of defense. Currently, service personnel of Air Force, Navy and are governed by the respective service acts and only officers of the respective services can exercise disciplinary powers over them. Say for example, I am going on the street, I am in the forces, I am from the army. I saw a Navy personnel doing some mistake on the what you call field anywhere. If I can correct him then and there, I have that right to correct him, being an officer, I can correct him. But I cannot take disciplinary action against him. If a disciplinary action against him has to be taken, I will inform about this gap in his behavior to his department. At max, I can be a witness in that court of inquiry. Remember last week court of inquiry? I can only be a witness in that court of inquiry, but I cannot take the disciplinary action against him. So that is how the control of that particular individual is not with me, it is with his respective department. But if I integrate all and create a theatre command or a tri-services command, I become responsible for his behavior, correcting his behavior and also disciplinary action against him. So it leads into more effective administration. Two advantages, one is effective administration, the second is operational effectiveness also will improve like anything, very important. Operational effectiveness will also improve. Okay? Next is Pennayar River dispute. Pennayar tribunal deadline of 3 months. ये बहुत टाइम से चल रहा है. I think Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, right? Pennayar River dispute. Please see the map also, very important. Pennayar River dispute. If you can locate the river on the map. Very important, whenever there is a river dispute, 2-3 things you should be aware. One, which all state it flows, where it originates, important cities and towns which have been established on the banks of that river. And fourth is, it is a matter of dispute between how many states. These are the 4 important things related to the geography. And the next important is, what are the constitutional provisions related to addressing disputes related to interstate river disputes, very important. Okay, that we will cover here. It says in 2018, Tamil Nadu filed an original suit against Karnataka for constructing check dams and diversion structures on the Pennayar river. On 2019 November, Tamil Nadu formally requested the union government to constitute a tribunal for adjudication of disputes over the waters of the river. In the mid of December 19, the court gave the center 3 months to constitute the tribunal to resolve the dispute between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Okay? Now, try to understand, this in mid-December is 2022 December. This is not 2019, 2022 December. That's how by February this deadline of 3 months has expired. What it says, the river originates in Nandi Hills in the Chikballapur district of Karnataka and flows through Tamil Nadu before emptying into the Bay of Bengal. So originates in the Chikballapur district of Karnataka, flows through Tamil Nadu before emptying in the Bay of Bengal. It is also known as the South Pennar River, Dakshin Pinakini in Kannada, and Tenpennai or Ponnayar or Penniyar in Tamil. So there are different names to this river. This is the second longest river in Tamil Nadu with a length of 497 kilometers after the Kaveri river. Very important facts for prelims. It is the second largest interstate east flowing river basin among the 12 basins lying between Pennar and Kaveri basin. It covers a large area in the state of Tamil Nadu besides areas covered in the states of Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. So the coverage of area is maximum in Tamil Nadu. Bangalore, Hosur, Tiruvannamalai and Kudalur are the important cities on the banks of South Pennar river. Very important for your prelims coming in the month of May. Okay? Interstate dispute resolution mechanisms. Attempts are usually made to resolve the interstate disputes with the cooperation of both sides, with the center working as a facilitator or a neutral mediator. What are the constitutional methods? One is judicial redressal. Very important, Article 131 of the Constitution. The Supreme Court in its original jurisdiction decides disputes between the Government of India and one or more states, between the Government of India and any state or states on one side and one or more or other states on the other, or between two or more states. So it is basically three decisions related to, comes under the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Okay. So very important, one is Government of India and the states on the other side. Second is Government of India plus some states on its sides versus certain states on the other side. Third is between the states and certain other states is the third dimension. All these three disputes compromise the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Okay. Interstate Council, Article 263, again very important from the prelims perspective, gives powers to the President to set up an interstate council for the dispute of resolution of disputes between the states. The council is envisaged as a forum for discussion between the states and the center. In 88, the Sarkaria Commission suggested that council should exist as a permanent body, and in 1990 it came into existence through a presidential order, not through an act of the parliament. Underline the word presidential order. And functioning of the council, inquiring into and advising, investigating and discussing subjects, and also making recommendations. In 2021, the center reconstituted the interstate council, and the body now has 10 union ministers as permanent invitees. The standing committee of the council has been reconstituted with the home minister as chairman. The finance minister and the chief ministers of Maharashtra, UP and Gujarat are some of the other standing committee members. So this is about the Pennayar river disputes. So this is about the articles for the week, very important articles for the week, which I thought we need to have certain discussions upon. I have covered.